It was supposed to be a lighthearted moment during a promotional interview, a simple question about which celebrity would make the perfect addition to the Real Housewives of London. But what happened next sent shockwaves through royal watching circles and exposed just how far Meghan Markle has fallen in the eyes of the social elite. When one person suggested Meghan Markle as a potential guest star, the room fell into an uncomfortable silence. You could practically feel the temperature drop. And then came the words that have now gone viral across social media. One cast member looked directly at the interviewer and said plainly that she did not want Meghan Markle on their show. No hesitation, no diplomatic hedging, just a flat-out rejection caught on camera for the entire world to witness. But here is where it gets even more brutal. The cast did not simply dismiss Meghan and move on to another topic. Instead, they immediately pivoted to gushing over Princess Catherine. They called her elegant. They praised her as being tough as nails. They spoke about her beautiful home and joked about waiting for their invitation to visit. The contrast could not have been more stark or more deliberate. Sources close to the production say the moment was completely unscripted. The cast members were simply speaking their minds, and their minds were crystal clear. Meghan Markle represents something they want no part of, while Catherine represents everything they admire and aspire toward. One insider described it as watching a social execution happen in real time. What makes this particularly devastating is the context. These are not random members of the public sharing opinions on social media. These are women who move in elite social circles on both sides of the Atlantic. They attend the same parties, they shop at the same boutiques, they vacation in the same exclusive destinations, and they have collectively decided that associating with Meghan Markle is simply not worth the reputational risk. The clip has now been viewed millions of times across various platforms. Royal commentators are calling it yet another sign that Meghan's celebrity stock has plummeted to levels that would have seemed unimaginable just a few years ago. Remember, this is a woman who once had the fashion world at her feet, a woman whose wedding was watched by billions, a woman who was supposed to modernize the monarchy and bring it into a new era. Now she cannot even get an invitation to appear on a reality television show. The irony is almost too painful to process. Industry insiders say the rejection reflects a broader sentiment that has been building behind closed doors for months. People are tired. They are tired of the drama. They are tired of the victimhood narratives. And most importantly, they are tired of being associated with someone whose reputation seems to poison everything it touches. But this public humiliation was only the beginning of what would become a catastrophic week for the Duchess of Sussex. Because just as this clip was going viral, another powerful figure was about to deliver an even more devastating blow to Meghan's carefully cultivated image. If there is one woman whose opinion can make or break a career in the fashion world, it is Anna Wintour. The legendary editor who transformed Vogue into a global institution has spent decades as the ultimate arbiter of style and taste. Her approval can launch a designer into the stratosphere. Her disapproval can end careers overnight. And now she has made her position on the Meghan versus Catherine debate abundantly clear. When asked which celebrity people should look to for holiday-style inspiration, Wintour did not hesitate for even a second. She declared that you cannot go wrong with the Princess of Wales, who she described as always looking absolutely impeccable. She praised Catherine's classic heritage aesthetic and specifically highlighted her church attire and evening wear choices. She name-dropped prestigious designers like Catherine Walker and Alexander McQueen, while describing the princess as the gold standard of royal elegance. Notice who was completely absent from that glowing endorsement. Not a single mention of Meghan Markle, not even a passing reference. It was as though the Duchess of Sussex simply did not exist in Wintour's fashion universe. For a woman who once graced the cover of British Vogue in an issue she herself guest-edited, this silence speaks volumes louder than any criticism ever could. What makes this snub particularly stinging is the timing. Just weeks earlier, rumors had been swirling that Wintour's allegiances might be shifting toward Meghan following a reported meeting connected to Balenciaga. Sussex supporters had been celebrating what they believed was a major fashion industry breakthrough. They thought the tide was finally turning in Meghan's favor. Instead, Wintour delivered this very public endorsement of Catherine while pretending Meghan does not even factor into the conversation. Palace insiders describe it as a devastating blow to Meghan's fashion credibility. One source close to the industry said watching Wintour praise Catherine so effusively felt like witnessing a door slammed shut permanently on Meghan's aspirations to be taken seriously in high fashion circles. The contrast between the two women's fashion journeys has never been more apparent. Catherine has cultivated relationships with designers over nearly 15 years of royal life. She understands the assignment. She knows when to be conservative and when to make a statement. She recycles outfits in a way that feels authentic rather than performative, and she never lets her clothing choices overshadow the events she attends. Meghan, on the other hand, has faced constant criticism for her fashion missteps, the ill-fitting ensembles, the inappropriate choices for solemn occasions, the desperate attempts to channel Princess Diana that come across as calculated rather than heartfelt. Fashion critics say she treats clothing as costume rather than expression, and the industry has taken notice. Wintour's endorsement of Catherine is not just about hemlines and handbags. It represents something far more significant. It signals that the most powerful gatekeepers in fashion, media, and entertainment have chosen their side, and Meghan Markle is not on it. But the fashion world rejection was merely one piece of a much larger puzzle that was rapidly coming together. What we are witnessing is not a series of isolated incidents. It is a full-scale exodus. Celebrities, socialites, and power players on both sides of the Atlantic are actively distancing themselves from Meghan Markle, while simultaneously gravitating toward Princess Catherine. The pattern has become so pronounced that even those who once defended the Sussexes are now forced to acknowledge the obvious. Consider the biggest names in entertainment. Taylor Swift, the most powerful woman in music, has made her preference crystal clear through her warm interactions with the Wales family. Lady Gaga, another global icon with nothing to prove, has similarly aligned herself with Catherine rather than Meghan. These are women who could befriend anyone on the planet. They have chosen the Princess of Wales. Royal watchers say the shift has been happening gradually over the past few years, but it has accelerated dramatically in recent months. One Hollywood insider explained that there was a time when being associated with Meghan felt fresh and exciting. She represented change and modernity, but that perception has completely flipped. Now being seen with Meghan is considered a liability rather than an asset. The reasons behind this celebrity flight are multifaceted. Some point to the relentless negative press coverage that follows Meghan wherever she goes. Others cite the awkward situations that allegedly arise when she attends events, with reports of demanding behavior and impossible requests. But perhaps the biggest factor is simply the vibe. Hollywood runs on energy, and sources say Meghan's energy has become toxic. Meanwhile, Catherine exudes exactly what the entertainment industry craves: grace under pressure, authentic warmth, a complete absence of drama. Celebrities who interact with her walk away impressed rather than exhausted. They do not have to worry about their encounter being twisted into content for a Netflix documentary or weaponized in a tell-all interview. The contrast was on full display during a recent charity event where several A-listers were in attendance. According to sources who were present, conversations about Catherine were uniformly positive. People spoke about her courage during her cancer treatment. They admired her commitment to her children and her charitable work. They respected how she handled unimaginable pressure with dignity. When Meghan's name came up, the reaction was markedly different. Eye rolls, awkward subject changes. One attendee reportedly whispered that they would rather not discuss her at all. The social verdict has been rendered, and it is devastating. Industry analysts say this celebrity realignment will have serious long-term consequences for the Sussexes. Their entire business model depends on star power and cultural relevance. Without the support of the entertainment establishment, their Netflix deals become less valuable. Their speaking engagements lose their luster. Their brand partnerships dry up. They become exactly what they feared most: irrelevant. The irony is almost poetic. Meghan left the royal family believing Hollywood would embrace her as one of their own. Instead, Hollywood has embraced the woman she left behind. And nowhere was this preference more visible than at two competing events that took place in the very same week. The first week of December 2025 will go down in history as the moment the world saw, in undeniable terms, just how differently Catherine and Meghan are perceived by the entertainment elite. Two events, two very different outcomes. One devastating comparison that Meghan will never be able to escape. On December 5th, Princess Catherine hosted her 5th annual Together at Christmas Carol service at Westminster Abbey. The event has become a beloved tradition, bringing together people who have made extraordinary contributions to their communities. But this year felt especially significant given Catherine's recent battle with cancer. The world watched as she emerged stronger than ever, radiating grace and resilience. The guest list read like a who's who of genuine A-list talent. Kate Winslet, an Oscar-winning actress and one of the most respected figures in cinema. Chiwetel Ejiofor, another Academy Award nominee with impeccable credentials. Eugene Levy, the beloved comedic legend. Hannah Waddingham, the Emmy-winning star whose career is at an all-time high. These are not reality television personalities or social media influencers. These are serious artists who command respect across the industry. They came to support Catherine. They came because they wanted to be there. They came because being associated with the Princess of Wales is considered an honor rather than a calculated career move. Now contrast that with what happened just 2 days earlier. On December 3rd, Meghan released her Netflix special titled With Love Meghan Holiday Celebration. It was supposed to be her triumphant return to the spotlight, a chance to showcase her lifestyle brand and prove that she could command the same star power as her sister-in-law. Instead, it exposed the painful reality of her diminished status. Industry observers immediately noticed something troubling about the guest list. Where were the A-listers? Where were the Oscar winners and Emmy darlings? Where were the global superstars who should have been lining up to appear alongside a woman who claims to be one of the most famous people on Earth? Sources reveal that the production team struggled enormously to book genuine celebrity talent. Most of the familiar faces who did appear had connections to William Morris Endeavor, Meghan's talent agency. Others were relatively unknown outside niche audiences. The overall impression was of a woman desperately pulling strings to create the illusion of relevance rather than actually possessing it. One entertainment executive spoke anonymously about the situation. They explained that when Catherine's team reaches out, people respond immediately. It is considered a privilege. When Meghan's team calls, people suddenly have scheduling conflicts. The difference in enthusiasm is impossible to ignore. The side-by-side comparison has dominated social media conversations ever since. Supporters of the royal family point to it as definitive proof that Catherine has won the popularity war. Even those who once championed Meghan have grown quiet, unable to defend what the numbers and the guest list so clearly reveal. But the external rejection was only part of the story. Something far more damaging was about to emerge from within the Sussexes' own organization. Sometimes the most damaging revelations come from the most unexpected places. In this case, the blow came from within the Sussexes' own charitable foundation. Archewell released a report about what young people truly value in leaders and influencers. The findings were supposed to bolster their image. Instead, they created a roadmap explaining exactly why Harry and Meghan have fallen so far from grace. The foundation conducted interviews with over 100 young people aged 10 to 25 across the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, and Panama. They wanted to understand what the next generation looks for in role models. The answers were illuminating and deeply uncomfortable for the couple who commissioned the research. 4 consistent themes emerged from the study. Young people believe true leadership is about authenticity and credibility. They reject the idea that leadership should be connected to money or follower counts. They want to see leaders who take genuine action and demonstrate real impact. And they value leadership that begins offline rather than through carefully curated social media personas. The report also noted something particularly damning. Young people have grown tired of the inauthenticity of influencer culture. They are suspicious of role models who appear motivated by profit rather than genuine passion for causes they claim to champion. Read those findings again and tell me they do not describe Harry and Meghan perfectly. The multi-million-dollar Netflix deals, the Spotify contracts, the endless monetization of their royal connections and family trauma, the lifestyle brand selling overpriced jam and honey. Every single criticism that has been leveled against them is validated by their own research. Newsweek was quick to point out the painful irony. Their royal correspondent noted that certain passages of the report could serve as a convincing explanation for why public opinion has turned so decisively against the Sussexes. The couple apparently lacks the self-awareness to recognize they embody everything their target audience claims to reject. A Sussex source attempted damage control by arguing that characterizing young people as opposed to the couple making money was an oversimplification. They insisted Harry and Meghan should be viewed as an activism-driven brand focused on doing good. The source even claimed the couple hands over a disproportionate amount of their wealth to charitable causes. Critics immediately pushed back on this assertion. They pointed to the desperate promotional emails from As Ever offering discounts on products that generate zero charitable revenue. They noted that Harry's donation from his memoir Spare represented a small fraction of his reported $25 million advance. The math simply does not support the narrative of extraordinary generosity. Perhaps most offensive was the source referring to ordinary supporters as average Joes. The condescension dripping from that phrase reveals exactly how the Sussexes view the public they claim to champion. They see themselves as above the masses, while simultaneously demanding admiration from them. Their own report exposed the truth, but an even more disturbing pattern was about to go viral across social media platforms worldwide. For years, royal watchers have whispered about it in private forums and comment sections. But in recent weeks, those whispers have exploded into a full-scale social media phenomenon. The evidence has been compiled, cataloged, and shared millions of times. Meghan Markle's apparent obsession with Princess Diana has finally been exposed to the mainstream, and people are calling it psychologically disturbing. A viral post from a prominent royal commentary account laid it all out in devastating detail. Side-by-side photographs showing Meghan dressed in outfits eerily similar to Diana's most iconic looks. The same hairstyles, the same poses, the same jewelry choices. Image after image demonstrating a pattern that goes far beyond coincidence or simple admiration. The post declared that 2025 had been a bountiful year for pretending to be Harry's mother and bluntly stated this is not normal behavior. The compilation spread like wildfire across every platform. Even commentators who rarely discuss royal matters took notice. One prominent media figure simply wrote that he was shook by what he saw. The sheer volume of examples made denial impossible. This was not a woman occasionally paying tribute to her late mother-in-law. This was something far more calculated and unsettling. What makes the situation even more disturbing are revelations from Harry's own memoir. In Spare, he described taking Meghan to visit Diana's grave on a private island at the Spencer family estate. When he returned to collect her, he found Meghan crouched on the ground with her palms pressed against the gravestone. She told him she was seeking clarity and guidance from a woman she had never met. Royal editor Jack Royston, who had previously been sympathetic to the Sussexes, admitted this passage made him deeply uncomfortable. He noted that Diana was not just Harry's mother, but also William's mother, and Charles's former wife. The idea of Meghan claiming some sort of spiritual communion with her struck many as inappropriate at best, and manipulative at worst. Insiders have also revealed that Meghan reportedly told Harry she could feel his mother's presence, and that Diana's spirit communicated with her. For a grieving son desperate to maintain connection with his lost parents, such claims would be incredibly powerful. Critics say this represents emotional manipulation of the most troubling kind, using a dead woman to strengthen her hold over a vulnerable man. The perfume detail adds another layer to the story. From the very beginning of their relationship, Meghan apparently wore the same fragrance that Diana favored. Some believe this was a deliberate strategy to trigger Harry's deepest emotional memories and create an artificial sense of connection. Royal commentators say Harry had been making progress in processing his grief before meeting Meghan. His brother had helped him move forward. Then suddenly he was pulled back into an endless cycle of Diana references, Diana comparisons, and Diana cosplaying that shows no signs of stopping. The public has rendered its verdict. This behavior is not tribute, it is something else entirely. And while Meghan channels the past, Catherine continues demonstrating why she owns the future. While Meghan desperately chases relevance through imitation and controversy, Princess Catherine has mastered something far more powerful: authentic connection, genuine warmth, the kind of quiet strength that does not need to announce itself because everyone in the room can already feel it. Royal insiders point to a fundamental difference in how the two women approach public life. When Catherine visits a family devastated by tragedy, she does not treat it as a photo opportunity. She returns again and again, checking in on their welfare long after the cameras have left. One commentator noted that she does this because she genuinely cares and wants to help. It comes from a warm heart rather than a calculated PR strategy. The contrast in communication styles reveals even more. Linguistic analysts have examined speeches from both women and found striking differences in how they position themselves relative to their audiences. Catherine consistently uses collective language, shifting quickly from personal pronouns to inclusive terms that make listeners feel part of something larger. She steps into the background of her own speeches, letting the cause take center stage. Her presentation style reflects pragmatism rather than self-promotion. She provides context through evidence and testimonies from others rather than dwelling on her own virtues. When she launched her early childhood initiative, she grounded her arguments in scientific research and personal stories from people whose lives had been transformed. She did not need to tell audiences she was committed. Her actions showed it. Meghan takes the opposite approach. Analysis of her public addresses reveals language that consistently turns inward. The focus remains on her identity, her journey, her feelings. Community becomes a branding exercise rather than a genuine connection. Empowerment gets packaged as something you can purchase rather than something you cultivate within yourself. One expert described the difference perfectly. Catherine speaks to people as they are. Meghan speaks to people as she wants them to be. One trusts the audience's judgment while the other seeks to manage it. This distinction explains why interactions with Catherine leave people feeling inspired, while encounters with Meghan reportedly leave them feeling drained. The public has noticed these differences, even if they cannot articulate them in academic terms. They see Catherine bending down to speak with children at their eye level, while introducing herself simply by her first name. They witness her genuine laughter and unguarded moments that feel refreshingly real in an age of curated perfection. Meanwhile, reports suggest Meghan insists on being addressed by her title, despite having abandoned the duties that came with it. She allegedly dominates conversations rather than creating space for others. The warmth she projects on camera reportedly disappears the moment recording stops. These are not superficial style preferences. They reflect fundamental differences in character and values. One woman understands that true influence comes from lifting others. The other believes influence means ensuring all attention flows toward herself. The marketplace has noticed this difference too, delivering a brutal financial verdict on Meghan's approach. Numbers do not lie. They cannot be spun by publicists or reframed by sympathetic journalists. They simply exist as cold, hard evidence of reality, and the numbers surrounding Meghan's lifestyle brand As Ever tell a story of spectacular failure that no amount of PR gymnastics can disguise. Brand intelligence platform. SimilarWeb recently released data that should keep Meghan awake at night. In October 2025, her website attracted just 196,831 monthly visits. That sounds respectable until you compare it to the competition. Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop brand pulled in over 812,000 visits during the same period. That means Goop is generating more than 4 times the traffic of As Ever. Let that sink in for a moment. Meghan Markle, The woman who claims millions upon millions of devoted followers across social media platforms cannot even crack 200,000 website visitors in a month. Where exactly are these legions of supporters when she actually needs them to show up? Where are the devoted fans rushing to purchase her overpriced jams and artisanal honey? The answer is painfully obvious. They do not exist. At least not in the numbers her team wants the world to believe. The gap between her supposed influence and her actual commercial performance has become impossible to ignore. Industry analysts say this disconnect represents one of the most dramatic cases of inflated celebrity metrics they have ever witnessed. Sussex sources attempted to put a positive spin on the dismal figures. They claimed everyone was pleased that early technical problems had been resolved and that supply chain issues were being addressed, but the brand launched in January and began selling products in April. 6 months later, the numbers remain catastrophic. Technical glitches do not explain why people simply are not interested in what Meghan is selling. Critics point to fundamental problems with the entire venture. The products are overpriced for what they offer. The branding feels inauthentic, given everything the public knows about Meghan's lifestyle and motivations, and the association with her increasingly toxic reputation makes potential customers hesitant to be seen supporting the brand. Compare this to the commercial ventures associated with the royal family. Catherine's early childhood initiatives attract corporate partnerships and sponsorships without any of the controversy. Organizations actively seek association with her because she enhances their reputation rather than endangering it. The financial implications for the Sussexes are serious. Their lavish Montecito lifestyle requires enormous ongoing income to sustain. The Netflix deal provides some cushion, but even that relationship has shown signs of strain. Spotify already severed ties. If As Ever continues hemorrhaging credibility, other partners may follow. One entertainment industry executive summarized the situation bluntly. Meghan bet everything on her personal brand being strong enough to build a commercial empire. That bet is failing spectacularly because the brand itself is fundamentally damaged. But even as her business ventures crumble, Meghan apparently cannot resist taking calculated shots at her sister-in-law through seemingly innocent product choices. On the surface, it seemed like a charming holiday promotion. Meghan's As Ever brand released a Christmas gift set featuring 2 jars of honey, a black leather bookmark, and carefully staged photographs designed to evoke warmth and sophistication. But eagle-eyed royal watchers spotted something that transformed this innocent product launch into what many believe was a calculated dig at Princess Catherine. Among the items prominently displayed in the promotional imagery was a book called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse by author Charlie Mackesy. For casual observers, it appeared to be nothing more than tasteful styling. For those who follow royal news closely, the choice was impossible to ignore. Just last year, Princess Catherine personally asked Charlie Mackesy to create bespoke illustrations for the Order of Service at her Together at Christmas Carol concert at Westminster Abbey. This was particularly meaningful because the event marked her return to public life following her cancer treatment. The author's involvement added an intimate, heartfelt touch to an already emotional occasion. Now Meghan was using the same author's work to promote her struggling lifestyle brand. Coincidence seems unlikely given the Sussexes' documented history of mirroring and competing with William and Catherine. Royal commentators believe this represents yet another attempt to insert herself into Catherine's narrative while simultaneously undermining her sister-in-law's special moments. But the deeper significance lies in what the book itself is about. The story follows 4 unlikely friends who journey together, sharing lessons about friendship, kindness, vulnerability, and the importance of asking for help when you need it. The themes explore the courage required to be vulnerable and the strength found in opening up to others. Consider those themes in light of Meghan's most explosive claims. During the infamous Oprah interview, she insisted that she reached out to the royal family during a vulnerable moment seeking help with her mental health and was cruelly rejected. This accusation was particularly damaging to Catherine, who alongside William had championed mental health awareness through their Heads Together campaign long before Meghan entered the picture. By choosing this specific book by this specific author, Meghan appears to be sending a message. Remember when I was vulnerable and asked for help, and your family refused me? The symbolism is too precise to be accidental. It represents passive aggression disguised as aesthetic choices, a specialty that critics say Meghan has perfected over the years. Sussex PR teams predictably attempted to redirect attention toward Meghan's calligraphy skills featured in the promotional materials. They wanted coverage focusing on her elegant handwriting rather than the connections she had drawn to Catherine. But the internet refuses to be manipulated so easily anymore. The response across social media has been swift and unforgiving. Supporters of the royal family view the book choice as despicable and deliberately provocative. Even neutral observers find themselves questioning whether any detail in Meghan's public life is truly spontaneous or whether everything serves some strategic purpose. As the evidence mounts, the picture of Meghan's future grows increasingly bleak. Every rejection, every snub, every devastating comparison points toward one inescapable conclusion. Meghan Markle's fall from grace is not a temporary setback. It is a fundamental realignment that cannot be reversed through better PR or strategic pivots. The doors that once swung open at the mere mention of her name are now slamming shut with permanent finality. Consider the trajectory over the past 5 years. She entered America believing Hollywood would welcome her as royalty. Instead, she has become a cautionary tale whispered about at industry events. She launched a lifestyle brand expecting it to rival established empires. Instead, it limps along with a fraction of the traffic her competitors enjoy. She positioned herself as a mental health advocate and authenticity champion. Instead, her own foundation's research exposes her as the embodiment of everything young people reject. The contrast with Catherine could not be more stark or more damaging. While Meghan struggles to fill guest lists with recognizable names, genuine A-listers compete for invitations to Catherine's events. While Meghan copies Diana's wardrobe in increasingly desperate attempts at relevance, Catherine forges her own iconic style that fashion legends praise as impeccable. While Meghan's speeches center on herself, Catherine's words lift up others and inspire genuine connection. Industry insiders say the celebrity exodus will only accelerate from here. Being associated with Meghan has become professionally risky in ways that being associated with Catherine simply is not. One represents drama, controversy, and potential backlash. The other represents grace, dignity, and universal respect. For anyone protecting their reputation, the choice is obvious. The financial implications are equally dire. The Sussex lifestyle requires tens of millions annually to maintain. Their Montecito mansion alone carries enormous costs. Staff, security, travel, and maintaining appearances all demand constant cash flow. With brand partnerships drying up and commercial ventures underperforming, the pressure will only intensify. Some observers speculate that desperation may drive increasingly erratic behavior. The Diana cosplaying could escalate. The subtle digs at Catherine might become more overt. The victim narratives might grow more dramatic as attention becomes harder to capture. When relevance slips away, those addicted to spotlight often resort to increasingly extreme measures to reclaim it. Harry remains trapped in the middle of this unfolding disaster. He sacrificed his family, his homeland, and his legacy for a woman the world is actively rejecting. Whether he recognizes the magnitude of his mistake remains unclear. What seems certain is that his path back to acceptance grows narrower with each passing scandal. The royal family, meanwhile, continues thriving without them. King Charles carries forward his mother's legacy. William and Catherine raise their children while serving the crown with distinction. The institution Meghan dismissed as archaic and racist demonstrates remarkable resilience while her own ventures crumble. History will remember this period as the moment the truth became undeniable. Meghan Markle gambled everything on her star power and lost. The A-listers have chosen their side, and it is not hers. Drop your thoughts below. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you will not believe what is coming next.